Hello, hello. Is this thing on? Welcome in, everybody. I'll turn off my own audio so I'm not echoing back to you, and I think we're good to go. Last week we had a pretty fun, chill stream where we just, fixed bugs, decorated the world a little bit. Trying to get a demo out for everyone next month, so lots of polish, making things look nicer, but trying to cut back on all the big systems that we're adding right now, but maybe we'll add one, who knows. I'm finally here performing for y'all, so thanks for tuning in. Welcome in, Anthrax. And I think you have some music. Something epic for this stream as we just chill and enjoy making a game. This will be a good soundtrack. Hopefully. Let's see here. Let's see where we're at. It's been a pretty long week for me. I'm a little sleep deprived, but luckily we've got coffee. Been working hard on a bunch of stuff in the game. Very excited to get it to a state where I can just play it. I haven't even felt like the need to play or the want to play a lot of games that I normally play this week because I've been just so excited for this game. Like, why would I play these other games if I could be playing this one real soon? So I've just been working probably too hard on it, and hopefully that'll show. I think this week, we don't have anything specific since we're more in polish stage and just getting things ready, but I think a good way to start out the stream is probably just decorating the world a little bit, adding some objects, painting things, making it look prettier. I did go ahead and add some stuff that I'll show off in a second, but new trees. We could add some new trees. I think we actually do have some rigged up with all the scripts and stuff that we haven't placed yet. That's a good idea. We do also now have these maple trees everywhere in this town. Kind of going for like fall vibes over here and some chill like cherry blossoms back here. We put a lot of work into this town a couple weeks ago, but still a lot of it needs done. Like we need to finish building out some of these walls and like some of the cliff edges. And I was just chatting on Discord before the stream about some solutions for some of the like code problems we've been having on navigating to the water, which is really the only reason players can't like interact with the water very well right now. And we might have a solution that'll look really cool in here with like a more of a river vibe, like babbling brooks, sound effects, VFX around it. I still want to play around and see if that asset will work, but I'm learning about splines now and about how they can do everything. So hopefully we'll have something that'll make this area look really cool. I'm excited for that. But yeah, I think we've kind of designed this area the most alongside the other town area the most, and we've done a few smaller areas near each of these towns. Like up here we've got this kind of cliffside view lookout point that runs into more of a don't even know what to call this body of water up in the mountain, but got some like cave potential up here. We've got a few other things to decorate over here, and I also just added a spaceship over in these mountains. I don't know if we'll keep it, but one thing that I've noticed in this game is as soon as you add like a single new asset, you kind of just open up the crafting so much more, because I added a scarecrow over here, and some of the tools that I was using on it gave me like cloth and straw and hay and stuff that you can't really get without a long crafting setup right now. So I think just adding more of like new objects will be really cool to enable just like entire new trees of crafting, But we have up here what's it currently named? An abandoned giant metal fish, originally a spaceship. But interacting with it will give you like metal scraps and like weird alien objects, something like that. So I'm excited to see what all we can craft with all that. Maybe we'll come up here and play around with that. But I want to add more objects like that are more unique, just to give the player like either cool things to discover, or if they're trying to get something specific, they'll be like, oh, I should go collect something from this specific object and this specific object and then combine them. Oh, it's an alpine lake. Also, welcome in. Still that guy, Jake. Good to see ya. Sorry it's not Minecraft this time, but we are also building a medieval village over here. This is the game that me and my studio are working on. I'll show you around a little bit if you'd like, but happy to have you here. Yeah, so we actually do have a ton of like interactable objects that we have prefabs and objects for. And so I maybe just wanted to like go through and see what we had and see if there's any spots in the world that like might make sense to add them. I've also done a little bit more over in like the desert where we've started to add, oh, what did I add? What did I add? Oh yeah, some of just the new cactuses. We also renamed our water over here to hot springs, so it won't just be water. So if you want like hot water specifically, you could come out here and get that. And oh yeah, the other place I was adding stuff in is over in this cursed area, which we don't know the story of yet, but might be interested in generating some. But we're gonna have maybe another river type thing through here if we can play around with like the shaders and the colors to make it more like misty or foggy. But we have this giant statue. We've got some focal point areas, some of these crystals like infernal ruby veins, twilight opal veins. If you want something like that, you can go grab it over here. We got a bunch of these dead trees, which we've got dead trees, and we also have ones that don't have the branches, which we call arboreal tentacles. So I think that's going to give some really cool items that I don't know what you get when you chop down an arboreal tentacle or use like a net on it or something. Witch water, that's a good idea. Yeah, it'd be cool to have, I think, some like water coming out that kind of just like evaporates when it gets to here. I think that'd be a really cool effect. And then we could also have mist all around in this area, so it's kind of like blends into the mist as it's evaporating, because we're going for like a spooky vibe here. All the like cursed items and stuff. If you want to make something like that, come out here. We even have tiny little mushrooms out here, maga shrooms. We've got maybe these should be a little bit bigger, bone shrooms, and a few other things hidden around. So just trying to add more just like things hidden around, and also death cap mushrooms out here, I guess. Alright, so I'm just going to poke through. We got our music going. I mean, something like this obviously makes sense. We could put it like wherever we want, really. I'm going to go ahead and create a folder for everything we're going to add here, just so I don't orphan it and we can clean it up later. Added world decor to sword. Let's make that our parent. Let's drop in the stuff we already added after we fix the coordinates. And now when we drag in stuff like this, it'll all be nested under that and we can sort it later. So the cool thing about the like harvest system that we've built, so I can't notice this epic RuneScape music in the background. I played so many thousands of hours in this game, so every one of these songs is coming back and just hitting me with that nostalgia. But what I was gonna say is the cool thing about the like harvest system that we've built in this game so far is it's completely independent from like the specific objects that you've implemented. Literally all you have to do to add an object to the game and make it like interactable and plugged into this crafting system is throw on a generic interactable blank script on it. So we got our world objects, and then you just give it a name here. We could pretty easily add like descriptions and other stuff that you want to add in as like metadata. But here we can just say like Tome of Cursed Knowledge. And now I wonder what you'll get when you walk up to that as a player and use your hands on it, get the Tome of Cursed Knowledge, or use like a hammer on it or something. We'll play with that too. So, and then, yeah, I guess there's also settings you can configure on each object too. So like if you want this to take a long time until you get the item, 30 seconds or whatever, you just categorize it so it can be sorted in the codex. Like lots of cool settings that we're still adding to here. And we will mark this one limited harvest, so when you harvest it with it, whatever you get is all you get. Object will be destroyed, you'll have that item. It's kind of a cool way to do like a treasure chest almost, where you can kind of see what you might get and choose the tool that you want to open that treasure chest with. So we'll pop over here, we'll check that out. All I'm going to do now is apply that prefab change. So now anytime we create more of those in the world, they're just going to have all these settings already. And we could create more and like change the names on those too, and make them different, but it's whatever. Let's call this Tome of Forbidden Knowledge. I think that jives well in a game where it's the vibe is like you're carrying on a notebook, taking notes on everything. We haven't decided on the end game stuff yet, so maybe something related to the pursuit of knowledge might make a lot of sense. Let's see what other objects we got. Candles. I think things this small we'll skip over because they're more like detailing existing scenes, versus I want to give these more like focal points right now that the player can search out. Yeah, cauldron absolutely makes sense. We probably even want to use like make that into a workstation or something. It's cool that we have two versions of it. I wonder if, probably have to modify the texture to change the color of the liquid, I mean. Probably. But let's go put that somewhere. Probably in town, although we could do like some sort of witch hut out in the wilderness or something. Wherever we want it, we'll probably want like a relevant NPC and maybe this witchy person that we plan to put over here would be perfect to have a cauldron. Let's see. Just put it in our yard somewhere, I guess. Make it nice and big. And so with these, we'll make it just an object you can interact with for now. But what we probably will end up doing when we make it a workstation is, instead of making it a world object, we make it a panel trigger. And then we have all these UI panels for the different workstations set up. And all that panel trigger does is flip on a panel for you, so you have access to that workstation panel. Let's go ahead and make it so empty cauldron. Hey Patrick, welcome on in. It's going well. We are not working on anything specific this week, so right now we're starting out by just decorating the world with a bunch of kind of orphaned objects that we have but aren't using yet. And we are doing it to the most epic RuneScape music possible. I was looking around for music before the stream because I normally do like some sort of video game music. And I've kind of played through all of my favorites from like arcade or retro times, Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, a lot of the Final Fantasy music, Zelda music. So I was looking around and I almost threw on Baldur's Gate music, which I'm glad that I listened to. Like, I've heard it in game, but I'm glad that I put it on in Spotify beforehand because I forget how like Lord of the Rings, fairies singing in the forest it is versus the more chill vibes of a lot of the other music I play. And I was like, how about RuneScape music? And it's the perfect amount of epicness while also somehow being chill. Wouldn't be the first time I watch a stream and somebody's playing Baldur's Gate soundtrack. Yeah, I mean, it's really good, but I feel like, I mean, most of the time I don't like streams that have songs with words at the very least, unless they're like real low. And Baldur's Gate definitely has a lot of like singing and like what I would expect to be like elven hymns, and it's good music, but not the vibe here. But maybe I'll play it again. Who knows? Alright, what else we got? We've got coffins, and we are planning to have like a cemetery somewhere. And actually we've got the makings of one over by the church over here. We have a tombstone. Why not put a coffin over there too? Oh, we do have a coffin over there. Well. Alright, well then we just forgot to rig this guy up to be interactable, so let's do that. We'll do an open coffin too. Well, maybe not. No botting. I also looked up the RuneScape soundtrack a week or two ago, and I'm the same way. If I'm going to be productive, I want virtually no words. Yes, absolutely. Like my one exception for like my focus music is, what is that album? Wow, I'm blanking on the album. But there is one album that I kind of put on and had in the background a bunch of times. It has words, but I wasn't paying attention to it the first like several times that I listened to the album. So now I put it on anytime I want to just focus for however many hours and write specifically. I think it's Metric's Synthetica album. I think that's the name of the album. But very good album, very good focus music too. It's very like high tempo, but not too distracting. Alright, so now all coffins in the game are closed coffins. Listen to some Daft Punk stuff in the past too? Absolutely. Especially like the older Daft Punk stuff. A lot fewer words and more repetitiveness. I dig it for sure. You know what else we can rig up now that we have right-click in specs is all of these guys can be like a wooden fence on right-click. Let's just double-check that all of them will fit, and then we'll apply that component to all of them, I guess. Wait, what's this? Oh, hatches. Okay. So all these guys we can add generic interactable world object and call wooden fence. Is there a better name for what this is? Like a barricade? Wooden barricade? Log fence? Maybe a log fence is a good one. Wooden wall, maybe? Wooden wall. That's a good call. All right, let's do that. So we got wooden wall, and don't want that to be polluting our left click. So we'll go right click only interaction, not make them limited harvest so they'll always stick around. And then I feel like we're gonna have more than just that group, right? We have walls over here. Ah, yes. So let's go grab that component and make sure it makes sense on all of these guys. Cool. Apply it to all these guys as well. Wooden wall is good. I like that. Log fence could work too, but I mean, especially since we're just using them as walls for this settlement that we're building. Makes sense. Cool, so now all those will be right-click interactable. We've got these, which are pretty ambiguous in their use. Intended to be like where you might tie up horses or something. But we can make them equally ambiguous in name. I think the most nostalgic of these songs is probably the login screen. You know, I think so, because it's always so jarring, the first few like notes that it hits, because it usually means you were alt tabbed out and then you suddenly get hit with that music change. But also it just plays on repeat, gets you so hard. Let me just, I think it's Scape Main is the login music. I think that's the very first song that was on this album. So I'm going to pull a classic RuneScape and I'm going to, can I add it to my queue to play next again and then jump back? We'll find out. That's a song that yeah. I read that and I was like, I don't remember a song playing when you teleported in the game. But yeah, you get teleported back. Absolutely. Let's rig. Oh, right. One thing that we do need to double check on these fences and things is that they have colliders, and better yet, mesh convex colliders, I think. So we'll just make sure all these guys have their colliders on. And I guess they don't need to be convex. Oh, one of them's got a box collider. Interesting. Wonder why that one and that one specifically use a box collider, but oh well. Alright, so let's go back to our walls down here. They all have, ooh, somebody's missing a collider. Box colliders, mesh colliders. Okay, cool. Alright, back to these logs, which are all these guys. Cool. So all of them, let's just say wooden log. Alright, then we'll make sure that they all have colliders as well. It's going to be so fun to play and just run around and make stuff with all these new items. I think that might be the plan, is just play around, craft stuff, try and break something, and then fix that. I found out recently that one of my friends is apparently somewhere in the wiki for old school RuneScape. He was a higher up member in a guild that restricted the flow of currency at one point. Huh. I don't remember all the details, but I remember being shocked at what he was telling me. You know, there's some absolutely wild, like, player-driven events that happened in RuneScape. I played a lot. I don't know if it's obvious, but I also don't remember a lot of it. This right here, that's that login screen. I'm back. But there's Wiki's full of lore of, like, the Falador massacre when one player figured out how to attack other players outside of the wilderness and like went to the most populous world and the most populous location and just started throwing down AoE spells everywhere. And they like dropped all their items. He got it all. There's like mods that teleported in to like try and stop him. There's a lot of fun, crazy stories from RuneScape. When I played, there was a like boxing glitch with they just added player-owned houses, and you could like build your own house and add stuff to it, and you could put in like a boxing ring that you could 1v1 other players in, like fists only. And then when you died, it teleported you out. So somebody found out a glitch that like you died on the same game tick, or like you boxed someone, and then if you beat them, you could kick them out of your house on the same game tick as when they died. So they were in death animation, got kicked out, and on the next game tick, after the animation triggered to like teleport them back into their home. But since they were outside of the player-owned house, which was like a safe area when they died, they dropped all their items and then got teleported away from it. That was a fun one to see firsthand. It was also so cool to see these like really mechanical glitches that like, I mean, it's a really old game with old code, so people really understood how it worked and they knew how to like abuse certain things. Very eye-opening in terms of like how code is even written. There's a lot of YouTube content creators still that do a lot of like really in-depth analysis on bugs in RuneScape and why they work and how they were fixed and stuff. Always really super interesting to listen to when you are interested in game dev. Alright, so I put these things in, which aren't interactable yet. We should probably make them interactable. I actually don't know what they are. They're kind of hand-wavy general in the sense of like, I could see them using them as like foundations for something above, or like hanging like fish to dry or something off of them, hanging stuff, anything to dry, I guess. So maybe we call them like wooden supports. Yeah, I should probably build something with them, I'm realizing. If we did those with like some ground on top, we could stack them horizontally and make like pathways and stuff. But let's go ahead and just go with all of these. We'll call them like wooden supports. That's good enough for now. We're just making everything interactable. I guess this guy, maybe we hold off and say wooden stairs, but alright, they all have mesh colliders already too, which is great. Let's call them wooden support. Let's increase that range since they're a little taller too. And I'm trying to like give objects a little bit higher base harvest time than I normally do, just because I always put them as like 1-2 seconds because I want the item fast, but I think the health of the game requires it to be higher, and then to add in items that like make your base harvest time faster as you get better and better items instead of it just being instant from the start. But that should all work. On right click as well. Cool. So all these guys are now interactable as well. We do have houses. I think I'll leave them off for now because I'm wondering if we might want to, like, when you interact with them, have it teleport you to like an interior or something in another scene. Maybe that's how you want to do houses. I haven't decided quite yet, but we'll hold off on making houses interactable for now. But that'll be a fun, like, generic interactable player teleporter or something that we can just add in. I wish I could have truly enveloped myself during the original days of RuneScape. Just something I missed out on, but I'm still very grateful with my limited time playing growing up. That's sweet. Yeah, it's it's such like an integral part of my childhood. Like every day after school, I would walk to the YMCA and play RuneScape for like hours. So it was definitely, it took over my life and was one of the first games that I was like, oh boy, I want to make something like this. But there's so much to it, and it definitely hasn't aged as well as, well, you know what, it has aged pretty well. I would say I actually picked it up for a few weeks, like a year ago when we started working on this again, just to like go back to the basics and figure out how it actually stood up versus how I remembered. One thing that surprised me was like the very first trees that you see in town. You can obviously cut those down if you have an axe. And I remembered it being like, oh yeah, you hit it and it's like instant, you get the logs. I went back and timed how long it takes a level 1 character to like effectively punch a tree and get logs with an axe. Or effectively how long it takes them to cut down a tree with an axe. And it was like 18 seconds. And I was like, geez, that's a very long time. And I remembered it being instant. So it was kind of like an eye-opener there of like, oh yeah, there's progression. You also remember like, in better terms. It's good memories. Yeah. That checks out. And for developing, you could allow yourself to spawn with items with higher harvest rates too. Yes. Sorry, I didn't catch the context there. I would need to catch up on chat a little faster. But yeah. I think there's kind of a big question of like, how do you capture a player's interest at the very, very start of a game like this that's so deep with systems? And I think we've talked to some other gamers and game devs, and one of the things that has kind of stood out is this notion of like showing them what they'll get later, but giving them a little taste now. Or like in multiplayer games, you pop in and you have some basic armor, but you see like really cool armor that everybody else is wearing. It's the same kind of notion of just like showing them the potential of the game, but also showing them that there's a big progression towards it, instead of just dropping them in and being like, there you go, you can do anything. And I think all that's kind of just like, it makes sense to have these sorts of trees where you're trying at the start to figure out all the recipes. You just want to interact with everything once. It's a lot easier to just wait that 10 seconds and do it once and then be done, instead of like over and over and over it being 10 seconds per item. But by the time you're collecting a bunch of stuff, I would expect you to have all these stats and items and stuff that make it a lot faster. So there's like that, you get that initial peak at the beginning of like your first item, and you're like, ooh, this is what this gives. Later I'll come back when I can get it more efficiently, and I'll get a lot of those, if that makes sense. I'm still torn on how I want to do the inside of buildings. I found out the Octofast Traveler, which is my inspiration. I love that game, and I see those inspirations. Does a level stream as soon as you interact with the door, streams the inside of the level to on top of the model in the house, hides the house mesh, scales character and the camera down. That makes sense. I was actually wondering how they did that, because I vaguely remember, aren't there houses in the game where like the inside is bigger than the outside? I guess if they're streaming that inside mesh on top of the level and just hiding the house on top, and they like darken around the house too, right? That would make sense. That's a cool way to do it. But yeah, it's so hard to know. Like, it's just all like personal preference, right? Like how houses are done, how they look. And so, especially as we're trying to figure out the aesthetics for the rest of the game, it's hard to make those kind of design decisions on like how they should functionally work too. It's hard to know. Gotta decide though, I guess. Let's see. Is there anything else here that needs interactable? We have these kind of like wooden enclosures, maybe we could call them. Let's do that. It's technically scaffolding. Interesting. So maybe we just take these two. Right. Since that's what we're using here. And we'll call them wooden enclosures. That might be too generic to like get reasonable items from, but we will find out. So there's supposed to be an NPC in this one. Where did he go? Oh, okay, he's in this one. I was very confused for a second. All right. And most of these we're making right click only just to just keep the left click not polluted with stuff. It's all the stuff that we didn't want to interact with originally. So now that we have that right click option, we can add it all. Let's call this guy a wooden scaffold. And yeah, I guess we'll want to come back and redo all these numbers anyway. The developers of the game did a GDD talk on the game soon after it came out. I've only watched it like 5 times, trying to squeeze every drop of info I can out of it. That'd be a fun watch. I've looked up tutorials on how to do that, like Octopath 2.5D, like tilt shift effect in games. We actually probably don't have it on this computer. I'd show it off. But the first 3D build of this game, we had our 2D demo, and we knew we wanted to go 3D, but the first prototype of it was a 3D world with 2D pixels for all the characters, or 2D pixel art for all the characters, and they just had billboard effects, so you could like walk up and he'd always turn towards you. And all the like objects were also 2D, kind of like Paper Mario-ish. But we couldn't get that style to work. I think it looks so cool. I mean, not what we built, what Octopath Traveler built, but I'd love to make a game like that sometime. The first version of your game was full on 3D everything. We did the opposite. Yeah, I feel like... Yeah, I mean, this is the game that I was originally envisioning, I think, when we were making the 2D game, but we were like, we want it to be working, we want to get something out there, so we did the 2D game. I think I have wanted to make this specific 3D game for a long time, but there's so many other 2D games that I want to make too, so maybe I will attempt it and let you know. Yeah, like a Metroidvania in that style might be really cool, because you have that like whole notion of 3D space to work with. I haven't really thought that through too much, but one of these days I'm gonna make a Metroidvania too, and I'll be just as excited about that. All right, we also have these guard towers. Like, technically we should make them interactable because everything should be interactable, but I don't know what we're gonna get. I mean, I guess we'll find out when we use like a axe on the guard tower or something. But we'll find out, I guess. This has 2 colliders. Interesting. I wonder if I added this box collider to try and get this ground layer functioning like ground. I'd love to do another 2.5D game, but with using not pixel art and a bones animation system. You would prefer to use the bones animation system over pixel art? Maybe I just haven't done the pixel art one yet, but I think pixel art animation looks really cool. I'd love to see some cool bones animation. I don't think I've seen that in 2D. That'd be cool. But yes, I'm not quite sure where that collider is, and I can't... Wait a second. Okay, so we have this collider here, which, yeah, I think I did add this, and it's not going to work because we don't actually use colliders for our ground tracking. We use the layer ground. So I guess I could add a child object on this with floor. I can take this box collider off, add it here, and then make this ground layer. And if this is not a trigger, well, let's take this off the parent. So the whole thing has the mesh collider that the player can walk through. And then we also have a floor collider that has the ground layer. Will that... I don't actually remember how our terrain jump works, but I think it looks for the ground layer and not a terrain specifically. Or a collider specifically. We'll check that out. Maybe we'll jump on this while we're over there. It's just way less work to use the bone system. Something like Cold of the Lamb or Metal Slug would be bone animation on TD. Oh, yes. I think... Let me pull up Cold of the Lamb. I want to see the animation style. I mean, I don't actually want like an animated video. I want gameplay. I want to see this real fast because I can kind of visualize it, but I want to make sure that I'm not going to subject you to an ad. I want to make sure I'm visualizing it correctly. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can see that. That's kind of what I was picturing. And I can see how that would be a lot less work for sure. And yeah, when you segment out those parts, I can see definitely how you could also apply transitions to specific parts like squish effects and stuff without needing to do all that pixel art. It's probably really nice for animating, actually. You're right. Huh. Alright, so this guardhouse is now almost interactable. Just say guard tower. Sure. And we will find out what you get when you harvest from a guard tower, I guess. Alright, are we missing anything else? This is interactable. The fence is not, I think. Yeah, so I guess let's just throw that on as like wrought iron fence. Sure. I've never done it, but I have done work with animating in 3D, so I'd be used to the blending of frame animations. Yeah, I think also animating in 3D, I'm also just not good at animating in general. I've been putting off all the animations here. But as soon as I got into like blending animations together, I was like, this is complex stuff. I will come back to this when I'm actually adding it in. But I have animators for like a lot of both the player and the NPC actions rigged up with those like existing animations that the prefabs came with. And I've grabbed some off like Mixamo, haven't rigged them up, but animation is something that I will do soon, and I'm not comfortable enough to just jump in and do before then. Alright, I think everything should be interactable beside like the buildings. What was this again? Gym cutting station that we were working on. I see. Yeah, just buildings I think are the only things left that are not interactable. What is this? Gatehouse platform? Okay. I think that dashment one of these already had an interactable script on it. It did. So yeah, let's just copy this and add it to the others. I won't complain too much because I've always wanted to test myself with pixel animation, and so far I've surprised myself a ton. That's awesome. That's super cool. It's nice to have that skill you're building too. And, you know, pass that test. I had to learn how to do it in Unity on the fly for the game jam I did back in July. How much transferred from Unreal to Unity, would you say, in like animation as a whole? I'm sure the processors are probably somewhat different, but I'm sure a lot of the content is the same, right? Log bench, sure. All right. So, assuming everything is all rigged up as it should be, let's bring our player over and let's just harvest a bunch of stuff and see what all we get. Oh, didn't know there was a keyboard shortcut to go 2D to 3D. Sorry for the jump scare, I guess. Alright, let's bring him over just so we don't have to walk all the way over there. But let's, you know, just harvest a bunch of stuff and see what we get and see if we can break any of the code. There is one or two parse errors that I've seen occasionally, and it'd be great to replicate them so we can kind of dig in. Now, why incarnation? Alright. Unity is weird sometimes. Similar process, but getting familiar with Unity's terminology and where everything is and how it works together took a long time for me. And some different user interfaces for stuff too. Okay, so not too far, but yeah, obviously its own tool, I guess. Let's go ahead and just get everything, I guess. We'll collect it all. And the other, I would say, nice thing, or like one thing that doesn't make that long harvest time as bad in this context is the researching stage doesn't necessarily always last that full duration. So it's just whenever the LLM is done generating effectively. And at the end of the research stage, you do get a bonus item of whatever you researched. So even if something is like really long duration, you're going to get one of them pretty quickly. So I think that's nice. I need to make it a little clearer that the one you get is from researching and not just random one, but you know how it is. All right, we're getting some stuff. Let's grab some tools. And let's maybe collect a few more things and then we'll head into town, craft some stuff, combine some stuff. I guess we can maximize our time by crafting and harvesting at the same time. Let's see if we can jump on this. Hey yo! Alright, we need to move the collider a little bit, but it worked. And apparently we have a stool up here flying. I can't get to it, I guess. But, I mean, that's cool. It's nice to be able to stand up here, I guess. More verticality is nice. And that does open it up for parkour, like, challenges in the world to get to specific places, which I like. And on the... yeah, that'll be good. Let's harvest. Let's see what we get. So we're going to use our hands on a guard tower. Are we going to get, like, a guard? Oh, we can't get to the center, maybe? I wonder if this is convex mesh. If we turn this on, okay, now we can get to it. Alright, so fists on a guard tower. We are getting splintered wood. I guess that makes sense. Pocket tower would have been great. I'm sure if we could craft like a miniaturizing gun or something, that'd be super fun to run around and like collect these pocket guard towers, pocket houses. Let's use an axe on the guard tower. And we'll be crafting while we go. We got tangled leaves. Let's mix that up with some running shoes. Let's use our fishing rod on the guard tower now. Actually don't know what we were getting from the axe. Guard tower, axe gives us, oh, more splintered wood. Okay. So we got nature's strad boots. Cool. Let's make them even more naturey, I guess. Using fishing rod on the guard tower, we're getting a tangled line. Sure. How about a pickaxe on the guard tower? Forest walker's boots. Okay, cool. Let's throw a mushroom in with that. With our pickaxe on the guard tower, we're getting our cracked stones. Cool. Makes sense. Let's try a shovel, I guess. I was honestly so confused even coming up with ideas of what the player would get with a lot of these. But, and the images don't necessarily make the right sense. But, you know, the items do make sense. That's cool. I think I'm going to have to agree that for the world building, since all these insane outcomes can exist, it should be just as dreamy and crazy as it can be. Yes. I think one kind of design decision that we went for, without explicitly saying, Tony and I, was the concept of, like, we didn't want to treat this world as one world that you would play forever. We want to treat it as like you play for however many hours, like could be 1, could be 10, could be 100, and then you create another playthrough and you play through the world again. And that kind of is seen through like the fun parts are in creating these crafting recipes and like figuring out what you get and exploring all this over and over again. But it also means that we can just go absolutely bonkers with the world. Give you these crazy items that do things that you're like, that shouldn't be possible. But also in the sense of like changing the world, like we could burn down the town or like remove NPCs or like do really insane outcomes as a result of what the player is doing. Because there's that inherent nature of people are going to be replaying, and if they like, I mean, we aren't going to like destroy all their items, but if they were losing all of their items as a result of their actions, that would be a big deal, effectively. But it's less of a big deal than if it was like a permanent world. That's a bad analogy. We're not going to be destroying everybody's items. But yeah, if you do something and cause the town to get burnt down, do you want to keep playing in this world without a town? There's going to be new stuff to explore, blah, blah, blah. Or do you want to play again and do something different and see what happens then? Permanent changes. Yeah. Boots of the Crimson Path. Cool. What happens if we, add some ash to those boots? And let's use our net on the guard tower. We've been just collecting those loose bricks for a while now. Ashen Pathwalkers. It's a pretty cool name, actually. Enigmatic boots woven from the essence of ash and forest, offering enhanced speed, agility, and a cloak of smoke for stealth. Well, it does some of that. This will be cool when we have all the affixes planned that we want to add in. Bring over that window real fast. So we have a ton of like affixes that we want to add that are possible on items. A lot of them are crossed out because we're gonna do them after this demo. But like creating a smoke cloud where you walk could be an affix that we add, or like more generically, like create a particle effect where you walk, or create a prefab where you walk, something like that. And so the chain that we have in creating items first has the name, and then you take the name as input into another prompt that says like generate the item type and description and other like weight value, etc. And then we take that output as input into another prompt which generates the affixes. So this is a good example of if we had those affixes in the game and it generated that description first with speed, agility, and a cloak of smoke, it'd be able to take that as inputs in deciding which affixes to add, and it would match up at that point. But right now all we have is like move speed effectively and peripheral vision. So the LLM is doing its best to pick related affixes based on the description. There's just not a lot to pick from. I dragged it down here. All right. So let's take our Ashen Pathwalkers, do a frozen flower, and I'm going to start, harvesting other stuff. What did we get from that last thing? Guard tower, tangled mess. All right, that makes sense. Getting there. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to get there. There's a lot to do, but the hard part was the systems, and now it's like adding in piecemeal content effectively, like each affix at a time, or adding in new objects with metadata to interact with. Like the systems are working and there are more systems we want to build, but the fun part is now just adding a bunch of content. We got our Frostwalkers. All right, so what happens if we take our axe to this wooden wall? Wooden planks. Sure, that makes sense, I guess. How about a net on a wooden wall? We're here to break things. That's like me. I'm close to finishing up all the systems, and then I can just, quote, build the game. Yeah. Build the game is doing a lot of work there, but I definitely vibe with that. Like, you definitely wouldn't want to try and build the game before building the systems. So, in my eyes, it feels like I'm just building myself tools to make this game, which is pretty cool. The more systems you build, the better the game's going to be, I think. So that'll be good when you start. And when I start. Alright, we're getting a bunch of items. Let's try some tangled leaves and some broken wooden planks. Wonder what that gives you. Then we'll do wood chips and a crystal, too. Or maybe we can get like let's do a twig of some sort. If we can get one of those, and we'll mix that with a crystal, see if we can make like a wand. We got a primitive shelter. Great, great, great. Also a good example of like we eventually want to add some sort of building system. So items that would give you, say, a primitive shelter or something would potentially be able to generate as like building items or something that you can place in the world instead of being selected into these types, which in this case the closest one is tool. Same as like with the affixes, really. Feels like you're spending 6 months taking one step in progress, but you don't realize that these 6 months made it so when you start designing the game, you can do the things in 5 minutes at times. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I saw that last week when I went and added that like spaceship, and I was like, all right, I want to add some sci-fi items to this game. It took like 5 minutes. Most of that was like painting the ground and just dragging some items in, and then like all the systems we'd built, I got a bunch of like alien debris and like cosmic dust and stuff, and I brought that back to town and was crafting a bunch of stuff, and just like a whole new tree of items opened up effectively. Right, we were getting a twig. What were we getting? Let's use like maybe a fishing rod. We could also make like a chisel or shears or something, I guess. But yeah, I think putting in a lot of this work on systems at the start is usually a good idea. I think your game's going to be a lot better for it. All right, we have birch twigs. Let's take our birch twigs. If we can cut those down into like a single twig, that might combine better with the crystals. Although we have multiple crystals, so we could potentially try a couple things. Let's try birch twigs with a crystal. Can we get a wand? A crystal wand. Okay, image isn't great, but we did get a wand. Cool. Let's actually grab a couple of those. And now, how do we make this wand like magical? We have a campfire in town. Can we collect like fire or something? I bet a shovel on it would give us ashes, maybe. Do you think you would have it so you can't use certain kinds of tools on certain resources, like preventing using a fishing rod on a tree? That is a great question, and I think we've gone back and forth on this. Because it does, like... It can be weird, like if I walk over this tree and use a fishing net on it, or like a fishing rod on it, I guess. Where's our fishing rod? Our fishing rod on it. Like, I, as a player, have no idea what this is going to give. And so you kind of have this opportunity of, if it's a cool item, like, they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I see why they let me do this. Then, like, that's a pro. That's a good thing. But if you get an item that doesn't make any sense, like, if I take, I don't know, bamboo and use that on an oak tree. Oh, right, we can't use materials, just tools. If I were to use a fishing rod on an oak tree and it gave me like a fish, for example, then we have a problem because obviously there's no fish in the tree. Like, you have this kind of test of, I want to make it so the player can feel like they might be able to break the game, but I don't think that that is a game that they should win. They should just enjoy playing it. So if they're like, I can use any tool on any object, yeah, I'll try a fishing rod on a tree or a fishing rod on some wooden supports. Surely that'll break it. And then if you get something that makes sense, I think that's cool. I think like a damaged wooded plank, like, I mean, I guess. But the opposite side of the coin is like when you get dumb items that don't make sense, you're like, oh, okay, that's laziness on the developer's part. Like, they didn't even bother to curate what I can use or what I can't use. Like, all of this is random. None of this matters. that's really when they start falling off. So it's like definitely a risk there, but there is some reward if you can pleasantly surprise the player. And I think that promise of using tools on objects is like an enticing promise for people who want to break things. But yeah, it's just trying to find that line of like, one, is the tech good enough to actually work? Like, we don't want to promise it if it doesn't actually work. But two, is it fun? Like, there's also the aspect of completionists and stuff. I know I like to get achievements, fill up my numbers. If you can use every tool on any item or any object, like, are you ever going to feel pressured into using a dumb combination like a net on wooden supports just to tick a box? It's a weird bug. Like, then yeah, it's probably good to limit that as well. But it's just trying to find that line, I guess. What do we get here? Snared bits. All right. All right, what else did we add in this town? We have our wooden benches. Let's use an axe on a log bench. And let's also take our smothered ashes and combine that with our crystal wand to try and get like a fireball wand or something. Some sort of fiery wand. We got a ashen crystal staff. Okay, not quite what we want. So maybe we can... It would also be nice to be able to see, like, in your inventory at a glance which objects are like tools and which are materials and stuff. Just for finding tools to use on objects. Let's use our hands on the campfire. Maybe that'll give us some proper fire. And let's try and clean up our inventory a little bit. Aloe and a bandage. Probably just going to be better bandage. Alright, we have ashes, so we can get a new recipe on our crystal wand. Let's try that. Where are you at? I guess we do have ash too, which is a good example of when we probably want to combine two items when they're similar. An aloe infused bandage. Okay, that looks pretty cool actually. I can't remember if it's better than what we used it on. Okay, so neither of these actually healed you, but the combination does. Cool. Let's try and make ash crystal wand and a steam wand. Yeah, maybe we can get some water, mix it with, if we can figure out how to get fire. Ooh. Ashen wand. I mean, that looks pretty cool, actually. It gives you fire resistance, sure. I mean, we don't have any of the combat systems for, like, generating the attacks and stuff yet. But, alright, charred firewood. Can we get fire? Of some sort. Probably somehow. Let's mix some items up. Grilled fish. Yeah, that's a good example of use a fishing rod on a campfire and you're like, that makes no sense at all. Maybe I shouldn't have let the player use that tool on that object. But, I mean, we could also just lean into the chaos of like, oh, okay, I got grilled fish. Now I know for the rest of the game, anytime I want to skip over cooking or something, I can just go get grilled fish off the campfire. Ambered aluminum. Sure. Let's go grab some water if we can. I don't remember where we landed on whether the water was interactable still, because we're working on those mesh collider pathfinding issues. Let's mix more items while we're here. Let's use... Ooh, a bucket would have been nice, or some sort of container. Let's try a primitive shelter on the water. And I think... Okay, yeah, that will work. Cool. We have a chrono fruit. Now that's interesting. Gives you health and additional FOV when you eat it. So I can, I mean, we don't have health, but okay. Yeah, it's erring on the health, so it's not applying the FOV. That's fine though. Let's go ahead and equip some of our boots that we got. Just trying to clean out that inventory. I thought things would break by now, to be honest. But I'm having fun combining stuff if it's not too boring. Let's do splintered wood and loose bricks. See what we get. Do we have any other items? We do have the giant's ring, which we could use. I guess, yeah. Wait, is something broken? I wonder if it's from... It's still erring from when we tried to change our health. Guard tower model. There's your tiny tower. Your portable tower. Let's add some more bricks to that. Maybe we can build a full castle. Yeah, something broke. So, speak of the devil, I guess. Pocket tower. Reinforced guard tower model. So, more bricks. It's getting bigger each time. I actually don't remember how we got loose bricks. And that is something we still need to add, is being able to like right click this item and open it up in your codex. We have the page set up for showing all of an item's recipes, but we don't have a way to get there. Fortified guard tower model. Okay, we went from reinforced to fortified, I suppose. And it did not get bigger, so we might be at an end on our pocket tower adventure. Let's take a look at... I don't think this is the real era, though. Like, this occurs... Oh, I see, we have other errors. This occurs after we've, like, done something wrong. So whatever happened to not create that item in the first place is what we're looking for. So we do have errors from apply effect on our heal effect, I believe. And, okay. Applying effects for cold resistance, which we have on our boots too. That's when we tried to harvest with bamboo. That's a suspicious error. On a singleton, our NPC database already exists, so we're removing the southwest terrain. I'm going to make sure that doesn't have an NPC database on it, I guess. Wait. We actually did remove the terrain. Where did the terrain go? Well, that's a surprising bug, I suppose. Okay, surely when we exit out of this, get our terrain back, that terrain, southwest terrain, is going to have an NPC database script on it. Southwest terrain. Now, excuse me. Do any of the other terrains? Did I do that? Alright. What got rid of the terrain? Apparently, I have added an NPC database component, which is a singleton, to our southwest terrain. And since we already have the real NPC database, which is a singleton, it removed the other one when it got added to the scene, so we wouldn't have more than one. I was just surprised that I added that component to a terrain, so good detective work, I guess. Weird bug. Okay, that's an easy bug fix. Cool. Okay. So these are all fine, I believe. These are probably a lot of them from hovering over items in the codex, because we show recipes for like axe plus axe. Well, bad example. Sapling plus water equals tree. But we don't actually have in the game items for sapling or water until they're generated in the world. So if you try and hover over those, you get this error because those items don't exist. But in the real demo, you won't see those recipes until the items do exist. We just show them all right now for debug purposes, so skipping over those. This probably doesn't necessarily need to be an error because we're just, well, we do. That's just letting us know, like, hey, we don't have anything ready for materials to harvest with. There's no logic for that. Alright, so when we used our item, we tried to apply its consumable effects. We had current health on the thing that we ate. We have cold resistance on our equipment. Both of them got applied. Neither of them have been implemented in our effect handlers. So this is what we want to see. This is a nice error reminder that we need to add those before shipping this, I guess. Because when we do add those handlers, those errors will go away because we'll actually have a handler for it. Alright, but what actually broke? Is that really enough? These are just log errors. They aren't real errors. Huh. Okay. Oh, well, here we go. Alright, this is what broke. Applying effect on the camera. It was when we tried to eat the chrono berry that restored health and gave us extra FOV. So this tells me player camera is probably null. What was the line? This line. And it could potentially be the target, but let's see where this is instantiated. Here, player camera. So does the item effect applier service have a camera? Where do we set this? We don't set this. So it's probably null, I suppose. And that probably needs to happen before all this, when we're instantiating the thing that errored. Okay, so that bug should be fixed. That was a very, not that exciting bug to fix. I thought we'd have a much bigger bug. And I was excited when literally the entire terrain got destroyed and nothing worked all of a sudden. But apparently we were just missing a reference to the camera. So maybe we know that harvesting and crafting works well. Let's do a little bit more on like consumables. Most of them should already work though, because I mean, there's not a lot to test, really. Just each of the effect handlers, I guess. But actually, we can probably test that immediately because we saw when we put on the Giant's Ring that it scaled us up without pulling the camera back. Now that works. Cool. And that's so much smoother than it was before. Dang. I do love this affix on items. It's ridiculous. One idea I had is to have a layer of colliders that get turned on or off based on your model size. So when you get like large enough, you wouldn't have any of the colliders for like trees or towns or anything that you'd be stepping over anyway. So you could just walk directly instead of sometimes you see little pathing problems if you're going around like bushes and stuff that you would be able to move over. Is there a kind of bug that you're expecting to happen? I feel like there have been lots of bugs that have happened on stream, especially last stream. It was such like a buggy stream. Everything I tried to do broke. So I was expecting there to be just like bugs and bugs and bugs all week. Or I'll stream today. Where did this go? There it went. And so far, there haven't been a lot. But I think there are, like, we do have shader issues, like these things in the sky still. Let's quickly run over here just for a new area. Like, there's also been, like, sometimes alchemy will break because the actual problem is that sometimes the LLM gives back data in the wrong format. Like, if we have weight on an item, we're expecting an integer. We really should just expect a float and parse it to an integer, but we expect an integer. Sometimes if it gives a float back, it'll be like a parse error in JSON. So I've seen those pretty regularly. We haven't gotten any today. I was expecting to go in and try and figure that out. You know, just... I guess nothing in particular. Let's see if our... You know what? I don't think our... Well, no, I was going to say I haven't seen our buff bar in a long time, but apparently that's working too. Do they have... They're really small, actually. But they do have the countdown timers, I guess. Okay. You could just try making as many consumables as possible. That's a good idea. Can we fit through the gate? We can. You know, here's a bug. Sometimes when you're large, when you finish moving, you slowly turn and face something in the world, and I'm not actually sure what it is. Maybe we should go, like, hunt down what it is. I can't actually zoom my camera out far. I think it's going to take us back to the town. Maybe it was something we, like, interacted with. But it's almost like a dousing minigame. Where are we going? Okay, we keep going. I really need to maybe clean these trees out a little bit. Oh no, Collider's getting me good. I think it's only when you're large. Yeah, let me take this off and then we'll move. Oh, no, it's unrelated to being when you're large. I feel like it always triggers maybe when I get large, but maybe not. Alright, well, we've kind of moved our angle, so we're getting closer. I wonder if it is... Okay, still straight ahead. Wait. Now we're not turning towards anything. So I think let me run back to where we were, where it was happening. But I wonder if it's related to like a queued up object to interact with or something. And then there we go. I did it again. But I bet when we get close enough to that tree that I just queued that onto. Come on. Then it'll go away. Well, now our animation is super broken. Okay, it's definitely... I don't know how to undo it now, and it's also so much faster now. Maybe it's just the collider. I think I can reproduce it here. How's it going, Tony? We're bug hunting. There are bugs abound, I promise, and we're looking for them. And did my camera froze? There's the real bug. Oh no. But let me wait. Why is this different color? I'm just now realizing. See, these are the kinds of bugs that I keep seeing, and I'm like, this ain't my problem right now. And then I come back to do them and they're gone. Why? Okay, these guys all have terrain data. So we've got 5A, 5C, 08. What's the one we're missing? 5A, 5C, 08, 45. I bet maybe it just got unset. Let's give it a shot. Who knows? Bugs in our game, though. I don't know where they come from. We certainly didn't write them. Right. I was trying to reproduce this because I think I wanna. It might be consumable related. Because I wanna try it with just your bare hands, and I wanna try it with a consumable. But I think I got the process. Because I think it's when you left click to interact with an object in the distance, which sets it as a queued object to interact with, which normally if you don't do anything, you'll run to that object and then you'll be within range and you'll interact with it. But if you move before you get to that object, I bet it keeps that as the queued object to interact with, but clears your destination. So if I click that and then click away, okay. So like that didn't do it, but that's what I'm gonna do with a consumable, which maybe is why I thought that it was related to when you got big, because I... Well, all this is wrong. Alright, we have certainly found bugs. What in tarnation? I haven't seen any of these. So we're definitely locked on to like interacting with this bush. We are still in movement animation for some reason. Let's go look at our animation graph. So our movement speed is still at least 1 for some reason. So we're not recalculating that. Which means we're not running update, right? Because there's no like early return in this function. So either our agent is not updating its velocity, like the nav mesh agent itself, or we are not resetting this. Huh. Well, that's a puzzler. See if I can toggle my camera off and on. How's everyone's days going? What are you guys up to today? You working hard? You got any fun plans for this evening? We're back. Just realized I still have last week's task, which is about non-fish related things on the stream. We're gonna keep that, because we are also not doing non-fish related things. I'm working, no plans tonight, just chilling. You know, chilling. It's a good way to recover from working. Hopefully, at least. I'm going to a family wedding in a couple days, which is many states over. So tonight I'm packing, tomorrow I am flying. And I'm excited to get some more time to spend on like our API and like some of our older demos that I'll run on my laptop versus this bad boy. It'll be nice to keep working but have a little break from him. the game. Not looking forward to the 2 big changes I need to make in my game. I know I'm gonna break things and I'm just not ready for that right now. You know, that makes sense. I feel that. There's a few like big systems that I have on our to-do list too that I'm like, I could probably knock that out, but honestly I'm gonna break things. And I mean I just need to like set aside time for things not working. Alright, so wait, the bush is gone. The bush that we were interacting with. And the bush that we're currently locked into well, now it's back and we are apparently harvesting from it. Or we made it somehow. Because now we're no longer locked in animation. We just moved. And we're not turning towards it either. So let's see if we can reproduce this again after 1,000 errors later. Hope you have fun. Thank you, thank you. It should be fun. I haven't been to the state in the Midwest in a long time, but it'll be good to return. I'm waiting for when I can sit and work on it for several hours at a time. Yes, exactly. Like, the worst feeling is when you sit down for like an hour or two to like crunch work and you start something. I mean, it's already bad when you start something and can't finish it in that. But if you start something and break other stuff in the meantime, that's the worst. Alright, let's try and reproduce this. Let's take this guy. You know what? This is fine. I just want to be able to see the console, because there's definitely some weird, like, we're not getting tooltips on these 2 objects anymore, and we were. Things feel very laggy too. I'm also not really comfortable with the profiler, but probably be worth like looking at it, I guess, so I can start getting some baselines to compare to. I did recently make some new tileable textures for the game and created my own normal maps by hand. Nice. Yeah, that's super cool though. I feel like tileable textures are very, very cool, especially when you can start interlocking them in different ways. That's exciting. All right, let's get out of here a little bit. So we have this nice tree over here. Let's try some like intent to interact with it and then quick movements. Maybe like same frame. Or maybe like 2 at a time. Guess that wouldn't make sense because it's only 1 variable we're trying to overwrite. Huh. There's something very, very wrong. Why? Okay. So maybe it was I double clicked it and then I moved away. And now I have a tooltip of that object over here. And I'm pretty sure if I left clicked on that, I start harvesting it. But it's this tree, right? So what incarnation? Like the tooltip doesn't go away. Can I turn gizmos on and see the collider? Collider is still over here. But, okay. So I can still interact with it over here. There's gotta be something there, right? So... Oh, okay. It's Unity's problem, obviously. So they are throwing a bunch of errors about being unable to calculate a selection bounds, which I assume the selection is this tree, right? Or maybe something that we highlighted in here. I'm just trying to trigger that error again. Yeah. Well, Seems like it goes up pretty fast if I do it in that area. If I do it in a different area. So there's some object in here that we're selecting, I think, that has bounds broken in such a way that Unity errors. Let's see if we can find anything on the internet about this error. Because we might end up just restarting Unity and seeing if that fixes it. The dreaded invalid AABB errors. Oh no. We have an issue with Unity instantiating prefabs, which causes the physics engine to crash. Prefabs that we instantiated are the hover tooltip, and that's it. After about 10 minutes of gameplay, our game will suddenly have all rigid body objects crash and throw thousands of errors into the console. Okay. Not sure if it's a memory leak or other sort of hard limitation that we're hitting. Affects both editor and compiled versions. Oof. It was being caused when we instantiate prefabs or resources which contain child objects that contain their own physics properties, which we did just add to this. It has a child with a floor now. But I mean, we don't have any rigid bodies, I guess, so maybe it's not part of the physics system. Somebody at Unity needs to research this and see what the underlying cause is. Do you have any particle systems? No. Okay. Similar issue in this thread, long-standing thread. Cool. If your rigid bodies do something illegal, the system can explode. Actually, is our player a rigid body? Because it might be. You know, it is apparently not. Okay. Okay. But yeah, I guess if a rigid body does something illegal, can I search, like, animator I know is a valid one that there are results for. Is this everything that has an animator on it? Yes, so I can do that with rigid body, right? Not capital B, rigid body. Yeah, so nothing in the scene has a rigid body. Okay. All right, so I think that was mostly curiosity getting me. I'm just going to close Unity and reopen it, and we're going to do the same reproduction steps and see if that fixed it. Because it does seem like it's problems in, like, Unity code. I mean, we might be causing it with what we've done, but it might also just be the editor being the editor. We are reaching the end of the RuneScape soundtrack as well. We have about 10 songs left. Alright, let's play this. I also want to see if that terrain is still weirdly colored. Maybe it's not. But we'll go break some more stuff, I suppose. That's what we all make games for, right? Is just breaking them. Alright, so I mean we also saw that with bushes and stuff. So if we double clicked it and moved away real fast, and then a moment later we started harvesting or researching it. But it's sure looking like we're fine now, surely. There's a storm brewing in my area, so if I go silent again, it might be from power going out. Dang. That's... Hope you're doing fine. I love thunderstorms, but hope you do just fine. Good to know. Alright, surely this is fine now. Let's do it on the actual tree that caused it earlier. And also... Okay, yeah. Our little movement decorator is going through the grass as it should. So twice and away. Okay, seems fine. Once in a way. I'll do it a couple more times and then we'll try it with that consumable too, just because I'm wondering if it has something to do with that. Love them as well, but I should be fine. Spoken like a true Midwesterner. Don't know if you are proper Midwest, but that is the vibe that, like, tornado comes, everyone's like, yeah, should be fine, but I love them. Gonna go look at the tornado from the porch. Alright, things seems fine. Been in Tennessee my whole life. Heck yeah. I think that's counted, right? I mean, I'm from Missouri, so not too far. Yeah. I mean, Missouri is probably more of a question mark of whether it's proper Midwest, I guess. Okay, I think things are fine. I bet Unity just broke everything. Surely. What happens if I do another object in the meantime? Yeah, that seems fine. And then when we get close, I'll use the potion on it. Well, we gotta run, guys. Ah! Oh gosh. Okay. Alright. So we did break something there. What it looked like we just continuously used the item on the object over and over again. Interact with consumable, yeah. But I bet it wasn't like this loop going over and over again. I bet it was like whatever calls this was looped. That was scary. Yeah, that's crazy. I almost want to I want to make an item like that in the game somewhere where, like, when you harvest from it, maybe it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and maybe if it touches the player, they get hurt or something. So we do have interact with consumable. That is what we're hitting. So here, queued interaction with interact. That is what the like path we go down, because this is if we are currently queued up to interact with something that we're actively moving to, and we finally reach the point. Then we interact once, we clear that flag, we stop moving, and we clear out our navigation path. So why would this trigger over and over again? So if we do this again, we're moving to the tree is finite. Ah, math. Object transform is corrupt. Object is too large or too far away from the origin. You know, I said there would be a lot of bugs, and I feel like I've summoned these terrible, terrible bugs. I wasn't talking about this kind of bug. Let's clear things out. Let's try again. Is that how the world tree came to be? You know, it could be. I was planning out some of the UI stuff the other day, and I realized we probably want to store like the history internally, at least, of how you craft each item. This is related, but if you combine like amber and an apple to get this new item, we probably want to know that this item was made from these ingredients, and then if we use that item in something, we will know that this and this go into this new item. I was planning on building some like a visualizer for that effectively tree of creation, and I realized that our giant tree over there is literally called Tree of Creation, and so I laughed a little bit that, I mean, that could be a nice pun in the game there. If you right click on an item and see like how it was crafted, we call it the Tree of Creation. Probably ties in really well with this tree in lore, but we'll figure that out. You know, good pun there. All right. So we saw this happen twice when we tried to use a consumable on an object. Let's just try a tool, because I mean, we have separate execution paths for using a tool on an object and a consumable. So it's worth making sure that this isn't the error here. All right. Let's do it once more too, just to make sure it's all good. Seems like you just run up and use the tool as you should. However, it also seems now if you use a consumable on that tool, which generic interactable world object, let's just follow along with the chain here. So when we call interact, which is what happens when you get close enough to interact with this tree, if it's a tool or a weapon, we use interact with tool. If we use a consumable, then we just apply that consumable's effects to that object. And this doesn't have any sort of like clearing out, like we're done. It just sets up the actual like harvest interaction. So why then does this loop indefinitely? I guess I don't want to make changes right now, but if we now use this consumable on this tree, we better be ready to run, because it's this weird, like, we show up and we continue to run at it, and then eventually it seems to grow, kind of. I think that's what we saw last time. But we're definitely still running towards it. So what is this? Is the effect null? Or, well, we'll just go in and find out, I guess. Alright. Tool.effects has two effects. Is that right? Yeah. Growing and increasing the move speed. So for each effect, this game object is set, and the effect should also be set. So let's oh, we can't clear this. Let's jump in and see when we get the error. Out of here, into that. Apply consumable effect. We look for a handler to apply this effect, and we found one. So handler is model scale effect handler, correct. We have a target and an effect, so apply effect will go in there. Current value of model scale. Oh, right, because we're making it bigger and bigger and bigger, I think. Okay, so we have... I mean, this should work for when we're doing it once, but the problem is it's getting called over and over. But I think it is correct because now this value will be multiplied by 1.5. So, I mean, it's 23,000 or so now. Now it's 35,000. Sure, that sounds about right. We go in, we return the new value. So in apply effect, we have our start and our... Oh, right, hasn't run yet. So the start value, the end value, we're modifying this property somewhere. So we're going to lerp from, you know, I guess the coroutine could be sticking around. But we are lerping from this to this, which is correct for one, like, growth. And all it's doing is changing the local scale to be that in vector form, so it scales uniformly. And the target is not the player, so it's literally just that. So let's go back. So the effect is applied here. We add the active stat modifier again. I don't think that's right. Now why did it jump back to handler apply effect again? Did I press play or something maybe? Maybe I did. But this is just adding to a dictionary. So I'm surprised that it went somewhere else. Okay. So well, we know how to reproduce it. Let's dig in. Alright, so what we're gonna do, I see we are getting those Unity math bugs again, which is probably, now that I think about it, from the object growing too big to do math on, probably. I mean, we have these assertions on is finite failed, so maybe we got to quote-unquote an infinite value of scale. So that would explain a lot of these errors. But what I want to do is figure out why they are happening by tracing back. And so now we can, I mean, we're not running, so we can make a few changes. Compile them in, and then we will attach to Unity and try it. So we are applying tool.effects.count effects. We want to make sure it's just the two, but I'm pretty sure this is just getting called multiple times. So what we're gonna do is breakpoint here. We should only see it hit this breakpoint once when we do the first interact, but I expect to see it multiple times. It's like the Mario 64 bug of spinning around the flying shy guy, causing him to grow, and once he gets too big, the game just crashes. I read about this bug. It was a crazy bug. And like crazy bug to find, crazy bug for the players to find, crazy bug for developers to ever find and figure out what happened. That's yeah, it's kind of like that actually. So we have what calls this? We're gonna go up again because we have our interact on the entity, which is like parent stuff. This should never get called. And we have it on the player controller. So we take our object and interact with it again. So we want to put a breakpoint here. So when we go and play, we saw that like you run to the object and there's like a delay before this happens again. Oh, I gotta attach it real fast. And so we want to see if this triggers immediately or after the delay, first of all, because that'll point to some different errors. But we also want to see if this gets called. Oh yeah, I guess this will get called every time we update. We want in here. So let's grab our, I mean, it could also be related to this item specifically, like the affixes that it applies to the object or something. I mean, probably is because we wouldn't notice it if we weren't updating the model scale like that. But everything might work this way or it might just be this item. So we have our breakpoint set here. As soon as we're within range to interact with this object, we should see this breakpoint fire. And it does. Okay. Queued interacting with is the tree. So we're going to skip over the entire interact for this first. I really want to... Well, I mean, we know that it's going to get reset, right? That's what I was going to check, but let's go in here. So there's our face object, which is how we like originally saw this bug, I think, when we were like, oh yeah, whenever we move around, it's facing something in the distance. So actually, yeah, I'm not sure how that fits in here quite yet, but that's probably the line that triggered us to face that thing in the distance. And it's because we're interacting with some object was having interact called on it, which would be here, I would imagine. We probably don't have many other places that we explicitly call .interact. Yeah, it's literally just here. Okay. Okay, so in here, we face the object, sure. We don't have any errors yet, right? Jeez. Window, please. Just want to position it manually up here so we can also see this bottom bit of when we get errors in Unity. It'll be on that black line. Alright, so we get our active tool belt item, easy peas. It's going to be our growth potion, right? Sure. We go into interact with consumable. Let's dive in there. Let's... Guess I can't open the console here. Human, hey. Hey, welcome in. We are neck deep in what is probably just going to be a stupid bug, but it made a tree grow bigger than the world. We're figuring out why. Whenever you use a consumable on an object in the world, it is just repeatedly using that consumable on it so it scales infinitely instead of just using it once. And I have no idea why yet. Oh, you clipped it, Patrick. That'll be good to see. Thank you. That's what Patrick said. We created the world tree. You know, we're going to have to write that into the world lore. Like, when you ask an NPC how that tree grew so big, they're going to be like, yeah, some early alchemist poured way too much of a potion on a tree. It grew, it engulfed him. He's probably still inside. It's crazy. It's actual lore now. Absolutely. So we're just slowly tracing through this flow that somewhere in here has an infinite loop, I think, or a coroutine isn't getting destroyed properly. So when we use this item on this object, we have two effects that we're applying. And I'm going to skip over actually applying those effects. And then after we have applied those effects, which they should be applied now, but since we're frozen on frame, you can't see the tree growing yet, we clear the object that we're queued to interact with. Why did we jump back in and call interact again? This just plays through, right? Step out is what would have like stepped out of the break and hit the next frame. So if I, yeah, interact with consumable, sure. Yep, we're doing that. Oh. What? Well. Let's go into apply consumable effect. I wonder if it's recursively like triggering something weird. Let's go in here. So let's just keep an eye on this flow. Like apply effect. When we step over that, we should go to the next line. I feel like last time we did, it was either this line or this line we stepped over and it jumped us back. And I was like, did I just hit the wrong button? So next line, and then does this take us to the next line or does it jump us somewhere else? It jumps us somewhere else. So why the heck add active stat modifier on entity stats container? This is literally just adding to a dictionary. Why is it like jumping us back to the beginning of this long loop that we're doing? And it's doing it recursively, which is why the tree just keeps growing and growing and growing. So I bet if we pop out of this and I just comment this line out, then consumables will work just fine on trees. We have to actually disconnect and blah, blah, blah. Something about, you know what, let's go even deeper. Well, there's like none of these lines I would expect. Active stat modifiers is just stat modifier, list of item effects. It's not even like a reference to an object that might be reinstantiated. Let's just comment this line out. Oh, wait. Oh, well, I guess if this line errors, which it will if there's no entity stats container on the object. If this errors, then we are just exiting the frame, or exiting, yeah, I think the whole frame early, right? We just stop execution and go to the next frame. And if that's true, then this next line, like we error in this, deep in this chain, this next line never runs, which never clears the object. And so on the next frame, we still have something to interact with. We're close enough to interact with it. We start interacting with it, which adds more, all the stats and stuff, because it does that before erroring. So actually, I think that is the error. What a stupid, silly bug from me writing a line too quickly. And the answer is, what we need to do is say entity stats container is equal to that, and then we just put this in an if statement. We don't need to do that, because they are technically optional on everything. Like this tree doesn't have a stats container. They probably should be on everything, but I mean, we're still building it out, which is why it's not on everything. But let's first double check that this fix actually fixed it. I don't even think we need to reattach. We should just be able to go in and see the tree grow once. I think that'll fix it because this will no longer error. Everything will get unset and whatnot. But we should also think about how we want to like structure this being a dependent of a generic interactable world object or something. So we grab our same item, growth potion. We use it on this tree. Surely, I mean, we're not running in place. I think we just didn't get the it just doesn't work at all. Oh, it is growing. I think the tree is static, isn't it? Maybe. I'm hoping. Is this? It is static. All right, let's find something that's not. It's interesting that so much is. Huh. I don't remember setting that. Let's turn that off and try it real fast, because static is it's not gonna grow or get bigger or anything. It's just gonna stay how it is. What happened to the fishing minigame though? You know, I had a moment to think about the fishing minigame, which is when I wanted to put it in. But I've been pretty swamped with other stuff, and I have not had time to put it in. I think we have somewhat of a plan for it though. Let me make sure this works first, and then I'll show you off. I think I put it in Discord, maybe. I think I did, because we talked about it. Can't remember where we ended up, but alright, things work. It only grows once. Perfect. You can do it multiple times, but it doesn't grow infinitely and destroy everything and you. Fishing minigame. The real blocker is I have some collider issues and like stuff that I need to fix in order to interact with water specifically, because it's big old quad under the ground and works with some water and not with others because of just the way that they're placed. You can see the Discord for the full chats, but basically a lot of the water quads are underneath the water, so it's hard to get to the water in some cases. And I want to fix that before I like cinematically frame the player for a fishing minigame if we add one, and a few other things like that, where it's like we now kind of have an idea for how it might play, but there's some systems that we want to fix up. But let me show that as soon as I'm over at the water. I don't think I made it so this dock was ground layer, but we'll try that. Maybe we can get on it. Okay, kind of. Sure. But what I was thinking is destroyed the world tree. No, look, we have a world tree at home. Maybe that was a really evil world tree that we just destroyed, so we did the world a favor. But in terms of the fishing minigame, quote unquote, obviously I'm noticing we're turning to face things, or we did. Obviously we have world tree at home, yes. Oh, well, we can walk over there and take an axe to it after this. We can kill the real world tree. I'm gonna ignore this player turning the bug that we allegedly just fixed, how it manifested before. Might just be physics of like when you're near the edge of this. I wonder if it's turning you away from it. Just the way the colliders are shaped. Maybe, hopefully. But yeah, fishing. I think I talked last week or the week before about how I want it to be different than normal harvesting, because instead of always getting one item per tool you use, like a fishing rod on a tree always gives you the same item. A fishing rod on any of the like fishing tagged objects will instead generate a pool of items that you get a random one from every time you fish. So like 10 different fish, 50 different fish, or whatever. you're going to get a random one each time. But in terms of the fishing minigame, what I was thinking was, in the same way that we have... Yeah, I can just harvest this dock and show. Maybe. Alright, more bugs. In the same way that we have this sort of like very, very simple harvest minigame where you can press spacebar when the bar is inside your target window and it spawns a little thing that comes down and you have to catch it with your bar down here. Very, very simple minigame. I figured we might want to do one for fishing as well. And for that, I was thinking of bringing the camera in, or doing something with the camera, but basically framing whatever you're fishing in pretty well. And so we could have, I have a nice diagram here. I can't make the window small enough. Pretend this phase 1. Oh, quickly AFK, no worries. I'll talk it through anyway. But this phase 1 of the minigame shows up, and you hover over it with your mouse, fills up a bar, and then you get like a jagged line drawn back to you that you need to drag your, or draw your mouse along in order to get that fish back to you. Simple little fishing minigame, but yeah, there's more issues that we need to fix before. So like if I try and interact with this lake, it's gonna go interact with the center here, I guess, or not. It works for the most time when you're not like in the water. You'll walk to the edge of the water, but it doesn't work in other cases where like the water is more up underneath the ground, because then it's gonna try and walk directly down to get to it. Cool, we got a handful of water. We needed that last time we were testing stuff. I'm now wondering what happens if I use a consumable on the water. And the answer is apparently you can't. Well, maybe you can actually. Yeah, I think you can. But everything here is static for some reason. I can't remember why I did that. So they're not actually going to change. Yeah, just double checking that. But if I now use... Let's make this terrain not static, maybe. See what happens when we make the ground bigger. Oh, right. With our proper potion. Actually not sure if it works. Well, things do be broken, I guess. I'm realizing, though, that I need to test whether, like, we have this bush here. You left-clicking on the bush applies this potion to the bush, but right-clicking and harvesting this way is a slightly different route of code. So I want to make sure that's not trying to harvest and is trying to apply the potion to it. So let's go poke at that. Action row controller. Actually, let's do it a little bit differently. Where? So in our RS player controller, we have inspection input for right click. When you right click on something, we raycast out, get the things that you hit, and create a right click context menu from that. And so somewhere in here, we are instantiating that row and setting a callback for what happens when you left click on that row. And having a little sip while I fix my camera. And I think somewhere in there is where we're looking for. Cool. So let's take a look at load tool information. That's going to set its name, text, sprite. It's going to set the hover effect for its item. And then for each action row, which is what we're looking for. Welcome back, Human. We are finding more weird bugs. So just tracing through another one to make sure it's doing what we think it's doing. Because in here, calling add action row, this is what's going to set up our on click, I think. Probably. Maybe not. Oh, on pointer down. Okay. So here we are calling trigger interaction from player input, which I think does trickle back down to the correct interact. Interact. And that, yeah, will apply the consumable. Okay, that makes sense. So the question is, well, number one is, why did I make everything in this area static? I'm wondering if I did it on accident. But let me make a few not static so we can double check that this works. The prefab probably is static. Yeah, I mean, I guess it probably is. I'm wondering if I set it static because it's also like, I mean, it's the terrains, it's, oh yeah, I guess they are probably from a lot of the same packs. I know these walls are from a different pack. Maybe we have our growth potion here. I guess I should double check the wall isn't static before I use it on it. So this guy, also static. Like everything in this area seems to be static versus everything in the other area I was working in is not. And I'm wondering if I set all this static either on accident or on purpose. But now that that's not static, we are testing that the right click menu will go ahead and apply its effect. Not sure that it... Let's go to some objects that I know will actually scale. So we turned off this mossy boulder staticness. Could you select the whole pack of assets and change that value for all of them at the same time? Yeah, and I probably will. I mean, I'll select... Oh, right, the collider's too big. I probably will just make everything in the scene not static. I'm just wondering, like, is there... I feel like it's way more performant if you do set them all static, but I guess we can't have them static if we're going to allow changing them. I mean, keep the terrain static and stuff, but... let's see. This bush, left click applies the consumable, and if we do it this way, it also applies the consumable. Okay, that took so long to test if it worked because of all the weird staticness. Oh no. We are still turning to face objects sometimes. Is the ground level? It is. Huh. Well, luckily, we fixed a small bug, I guess. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is if I... So all the terrains will be static. That seems fine. Namish is also static. We don't have any moving platforms or anything. Water and stuff should be static. You don't want them growing or changing, I guess. But everything in here, I think. I wonder if I just like checked this box or something. So if I make all of these non-static, should let everything in the world move, theoretically. Did I get the 18K assets from Quixel? I don't think I did. That's an Unreal, like their Super HD thing, right? Are they free right now or something? Because I'll definitely grab those. I would love to do a like HD AAA looking game. Oh boy, this is very laggy. Scrolling around. Oh no. Oh, maybe it's because everything is selected. Let's unselect everything. Okay, yeah, that's so much better. Okay. I was very worried for a second. They're free right now and can be exported super easy to Unity. Let me find those right this second. 18K Quixel assets, because I might grab some of those if they're the right style. The big problem I have with using like photorealistic assets is it's so hard to find good ones that are cheap. And so if you start a game with some of them, it's very hard to complete it, I think, because you're kind of locked into that aesthetic. Quixel.com, sure. I guess maybe it's in the Unity or in the Unreal editor. I'll check it out. I'll leave this open so I remember to go check it out. But that's a good call. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know. I did not know. It's mostly realistic style, I guess, but it's better to have them than to need them. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, if we had more realistic assets to begin with, maybe this would have been a more realistic game. But you can't make those calls when you don't have the assets. So good to have them. You'll send me a link on Discord. Perfect. That'll be great. All right. So theoretically, everything works now. I feel like this guy, yeah, bad collider there. So he wasn't a mesh collider, which means our closest point calculation, or he wasn't a convex mesh collider. So closest point is actually just going to use its center point. Since we made it a convex mesh, we can use closest point and get that closest point properly. So now we should properly like walk up to the edge of it instead of not being able to get into the center to harvest from that. We'll double check that. And then, yeah, let's go harvest more of those weird objects that we created earlier and just kind of find more stuff that's broken. And let's see. So we will harvest some random stuff, but let's go grab all our tools. Maybe let's make a few new tools in town real fast, and we'll take those on our way over. Because we do seem to keep testing with the same tools, so might as well try a few other things. In fact, let's combine all these with something. But anvil, let's get a hammer. Hammer's a good one. Let's make it a aluminum hammer. Let's grab our amber infused pickaxe. Perfect. For our shovel, we will do an extra eyeball, of course. Did we get our... Okay, we got a lightweight hammer, sure. Fishing rod. We got a visionary shovel. Perfect. Fishing rod, let's combine with a bee. Camera froze pretty good. Yeah, let me reset it. I should just buy a new camera. I feel like this was supposed to be a nice camera, and so I feel bad buying a separate one. But maybe I'll check the warranty too. Because definitely don't want to just be resetting it all the time in streams. Cool, so we now have a honey lure fishing rod. Perfect, we're getting some good ones. And let's do, with our axe, a fire resistance potion maybe? And then, is there any other tools we might want? Shears. Shears is a great tool. So we got our fire main axe. Sure. Let's actually add some crystals to that. And we've got our lightweight shears. Perfect. Alright, we're going to take these around town. We're going to harvest everything. We're going to break stuff. Crystal fire main axe. It needs more crystals. But maybe we should be able to just take like our shears and take them to a wooden wall. See what we get. What did we just make? Luminous fire guard axe. That's pretty sick. Let's add some ash. So we get fine wooden planks with our shears. Sure. Let's try a lightweight hammer. An eclipse axe. Gotta bounce again. Work starts in 6.5 hours. Dang, dude, get some sleep. Thanks for being in. It was real nice to have you. I'll see you next time. And, yeah. Alright, so cracked wooden planks, sure. What else can we bust up? Let's take our hammer to a broken boat. Maybe we make this boat huge. Are we getting mended boat planks? I guess that makes sense. Using a hammer on a broken boat would fix it. Let's make this boat nice and big. Okay. I mean, I think it's probably also fine if you can't just infinitely do it. Oh, interesting. So there's small bug there. We're not clearing our queued interaction. Because if I use this and then use it again, so it's internally it's queuing me up to interact with this boat, but I'm not close enough to interact with it. But if I walk in, I think it'll trigger and actually do it. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's a big bush. All right. So one fun thing to add would be if we had like the size of the item affect what you're harvesting. It would be like technically not that hard to just include the transform scale and stuff in the prompt of what you get, but I think it would be logically and like content wise hard to get reasonable things. Like, I mean, it's hard for me sometimes to imagine what I'm getting when I use a random thing on a random things, like a visionary shovel on a broken boat. I don't know what I'm gonna get there, and then it somehow ends up making sense. Wonder if the collider is not growing correctly. But I feel like when I do have these like pairings that I'm like, I don't really know what I would get, and I expect it to not be good, I do end up usually getting something that makes somewhat sense. So I do wonder if it's worth testing. Just like, what happens when you harvest from a boat that's at like 10x scale or something? Are you going to get bigger items? Are you going to get smaller pieces of the object? Like, instead of taking a wheel off a car, are you going to take a screw off a car or something? Probably fun to play around with. Let's use more tools on things. We've got a guard tower. Let's use our amber infused pickaxe on it. Oh right, we need to be up here. Yeah, we can't jump that high on this side without items. Oh, there we go. Okay. Ancient relics. So this item's really given us rare artifacts, as it says. And not really wondering too much about what it gets it from. Let's use it on the ground. As I said earlier, I think it's fine if like things get absolutely broken in the game pretty early on. As long as it doesn't often do that, I think it's fine for it to sometimes do it. Because I do think a lot of the value in this game is like things being different every time you play. So I expect people to play through multiple times and experience like all the different things. So having the variance be really, really high and like things that can happen, I think is a good call there. What did we end up getting from the ground? The ground. Mystical soil. So that'd probably make some like cool armor or something. We could go get a bunch of water, turn it into like mystical mud maybe. Is that this playthrough? No, it wasn't. But maybe we can get water somehow anyway. Alright, let's just see what we get when we use these tools on water. Oh right, that's for the codex. Okay, mystical water gem. That might even be better than what we had. What are we combining it with again? Probably nice to have like a sort button in here too. Mystical soil. So probably works really well with mystical water gems. Surely. Let's also be using a hammer on a lake while we craft this. We'll see what we get. Flat stone. Alright. Visionary shovel. Alright, so we got Essence of Nature. So that's pretty cool. We got a couple of those. We'll make some armor from that. Mystic Mud. That is great, actually, but unfortunate image. Looks like a staff, but oh well. Oh right, I forgot. The items that fall in this like fall harvest minigame, internally we have data also generated metadata for like how much they weigh and like their worth and some other things. And so this right here is probably the only time you ever see anything that's influenced by how much an item weighs. But you'll notice that really, really heavy items just fall like directly down and really fast. But like lighter items, they kind of fall down like leaves. I thought it was a cool little touch. I like it. So honeyed legendary fish, also pretty heavy apparently. But if we go to like use a shovel on a bush, we probably get something smaller. Okay, we probably need to update the mesh on those bushes too. Okay, we'll do that after. We updated this guy, so theoretically we'll be able to harvest from him now. Apparently we were wrong. Still trying to get to the center. Okay. So we'll look at some colliders too. Let's see. Yeah, let's just use... That's so fast. But you can see like this item is really, really light, so it falls down so slow and back and forth. I think I'm a big fan of that. I think it's cool. I mean, it doesn't really change much, but it's cool. Use our lightweight hammer on a wooden stool. See what we get. I wonder if it's going to start giving us like items that it expects us to be able to place in the world, like fixed stool or something like that. Crushed wood shavings. Okay, that's way better. Ooh, we should add some metadata to that shield too. Log bench, sure. Let's do wood planks and an arcane seedling bed. See what we get. Alright, we were here to craft some stuff. So we've got our essence of nature. I want to make a sword and maybe like a mace and maybe like plate mail. So will a break? No. Where's our sword? Nature's blade. Alright. Let's do a mace. Arcane garden platform. Looks pretty cool. Let's add some ancient relics. Enchanted relic garden as equipment. Alright. Don't know what slot it goes. Oh, the head slot. Okay, that makes sense. Sure. And then lastly, let's do plate mail of our essence of nature. Maybe let's take our honeyed legendary fish and go use that on the campfire to cook it. Oh, right. It's a material, so we can't. Materials you're going to use more in these like workstations. So let's actually take our honeyed legendary fish and melt it onto our enchanted relic garden. See what we get there. Nature infused plate mail ×1 none. Okay. Maybe we need to strip the default in that enum out of the array that the LLM can use. And we probably want some sort of animation on this. Lots of polish stuff to do, but I am probably going to wrap up stream sometime soon. I've got a call in about 20 minutes. But we'll just keep crafting. We're just vibing. When we put out the devlog, people said they wanted examples of what sorts of things you can make in the game and how you make them. So we're just gonna, I'm recording this and we'll have a bunch of examples at the end. This very intricate enchanted relic garden with honeyed legendary fish is the littlest bonus for the longest time, +3 dexterity for 3,600 seconds. So if we take that, we have 1 dexterity. I can't remember if I actually added... Oh, right, we didn't add our dexterity handler yet. So we still need to build out a bunch of these affixes, but I was just going to see how it looks. We're going to grow big, get some buff icons there. So let's take that and let's do some other things. Nature's Balance Mace. I didn't see when we crafted that. I'm realizing both for the anvil and the furnace, we probably want to, like, rather than just put the item in your inventory when it's done being made, so flat stone buckler. We don't have any animation, first of all, that shows like this is in progress. But also, when it's done, it just gets put in this inventory slot, and you see, you get the item acquired tooltip, but we probably should, like, put it, like, in some noticeable location that's like, your item is ready, and then the player can drag it over to their inventory so they can, like, see it, and maybe there's buttons for, like, destroy this, or, like, add it back to the anvil or something. It's probably more rewarding to see it like as a separate reward and grab it versus it just being put in your inventory, especially when the majority of the time you're probably going to get something new. So if we take our stone shield, can we turn that into a sword? A stone wall sword. A sword with a guard as sturdy as a shield. It offers protection as well as offense. Alright, apparently we can. So what happens when we take something that's already a sword, our nature's blade, with harvest yield and cold resistance, and we turn it into a sword? And we're going to combine an eye and an apple, sure. So we got a nature-infused sword, again with the none. I think and that might be specific to blacksmithing, how we're creating items, but maybe not. Ooh, visionary apple. It's kind of a pretty apple. But yeah, we kind of got no affixes on this. So we'll need to poke into that. Let's do that. Let's poke around. Because we have our item creation service. This is like a central point for any of the workstations or skills or interactions to create items from. So oh, it's all hidden. I was like, there's way more code than this. We've got a couple entry points, create recipes, create, like fill out item details when you already have part of an item, some helper stuff, creating images for items, and so on. But when we generate attributes for an item, we have a prompt that is on our recipe database. Craft item from material is the prompt we're using for the blacksmith. But let's look at item combining first, because I bet we've already solved this. If you use an effects array, only if either ingredient already has one, the only possible values for stat to modify are possible stats to modify. Do not use none. I don't think that we have that in item crafting from material. That's correct. And so what we're seeing is we are putting in two items that have no item effects, or maybe it's just doing like an empty array of item effects and they are enums, so they're defaulting to the first value, which is none. But basically, I think what we can do is just add in that if you use an effects array to imply it's one, optional, and two, give these possible values. So let's add this in at the end, and then let's do the substitution that we do for possible application types, or possible stats to modify. We'll check out what application types it's referring to. Oh, you know what? We already have these ready to sub in, and they just weren't being used in the prompt. So now both of these will sub in the actual values. So, you know what? Back to the blacksmith. Let's go craft some more items and see if we can break it again. But now, theoretically, we should never get none as a affix. I think what was happening was the input items had none because they didn't have effects, and then that made the LLM infer that that was a possible value. But if we specify a whitelisted list of possible values that aren't including none, then we hopefully shouldn't see none. But let's make some stuff. So let's start out with a giant's ring, boots. And we'll just, you know, combine a bunch of stuff. Specifically equipment, I think, is what'll have the affixes the most. An oculus of ages. Sure, sure. Let's add more eyeballs to that. What did we get from crafting? Yeah, it's hard to find when we probably should have some sort of item slot it gets put into. Just even so you can find the item you just made. Giant stompers. Nice, nice. So basically turned it from a ring into boots, so different item slot, which is kind of cool. Oculus of Eternal Vigilance. Sure, it needs more eyeballs. An Omniscient Observer. That's kind of cool. Okay, okay. We don't have the actual like item slots generating right now. So they all say equipped in the head slot, and you can put them in any slot, but you gotta squint a little bit to see where we're going. This will be more like an accessory, I assume, or maybe it'll generate as a head slot thing, but we will have those limitations. Okay, sure, needs more eyeballs. Yeah, I mean, most things do, I guess. Let's see if we can deck ourselves out with some crazy stuff. So we got boots. So some real good FOV. I almost can't get back to the anvil. We need some plate mail. So let's do, you know, a B plate mail. What other slots do we have? Pants, necklace, and accessory. So we got B barding, sure. Let's combine that with some aluminum. And then we'll also do some B pants if we have, yeah, plate legs will work. The B gear. Arrow buzz armor, sure. This is fine, but we want it to go faster. So let's combine it. Well, let's not necessarily combine it. Let's take it to the furnace. Because we want this to be like the output item. We don't want it to give us running shoes. We want to melt this down, take its move speed, and put it on this. So let's try that. We have buzzin' plate legs. Great, great, great. Let's take those and, you know, use some of our growth potion on it. We'll get even bigger. This is just so cool. Yeah, Tony, we're trying to break it. Like, I mean, knock on wood, we said there were no bugs earlier, and then literally Unity had thousands of bugs that were technically our fault. But yeah, I'm gonna hop off soon. I'll jump on that call, no worries. Just crafting a few things here and trying to break things. What did we get? We got arrow buzz armor, so it didn't really like increase the move speed much. We got our giant's march plate legs. You know what? Let's keep pouring more growth potion on it. Never any bugs. You know? Can't wait to start using shrink potions and getting so small you can see bugs on the ground. Pick those up. Wow, being really small with FOV is pretty rough, actually. Oh, this is cool. Titans March Greaves. Okay, we are undoing our potion as the buffs expire. You know, we'll just get bigger and bigger. Let's put these greaves on too. We'll get large, not that. Equipment. Put those pants on, get even bigger. I guess it's multiplicative, so it doesn't really do that much. But let's go to the anvil, pop in some growth potion, and make plate mail. See what we get. Giant's plate mail, great. More model scale, more move speed. Let's also make a helmet while we're at it. Oh, we've got that, but it's all good. We throw on the giant's plate mail. Oh, we didn't get bigger. Or did we? Might just be such a small amount. Yeah, it's hard to tell. So times 6 move scale, huh. Should be a pretty decent jump, I think. But we also got a giant's helmet. Let's put that on our neck. Oh boy. And let's, yep. All right. I think that's where we break things. We are set up. This is the meta strat, as it were. That is quite the view. Let me just screenshot this real fast. And I think that is where we'll probably call it. I could even take our growth potion and have a few sips of that as well. Just get quite large. But we're kind of on top of the world at this point. Oh my goodness. Are those my legs? Jeez. Oh, okay. Huh. Alright, let me go ahead and screenshot that too. Jeez. Alright, good times. Oh, I lost the first screenshot because I didn't save it. It's all good. I'll get it from the VOD. There we go though. That's great example of how it's fun to break the game. So if y'all want to play the game and break the game, I'll drop a link to our Steam page in chat. Make sure you go wishlist it. We're trying to have a demo next week. I have a call to jump on in about 5 minutes. It's been a very fun stream. It's been great having you all here. I'm also in Discord as Patrick. Both are so nicely linked. He's in there as well. You can talk to him. Tony's even in there. You can talk to him. You know, good vibes. Have a good Tuesday. And I'll be back next Tuesday. So I'll see you then. And sorry my camera freezes all the time, but it's good times, I promise. Alright, see you guys.